deeper look at this, but it looked to me like he was going to meet her tonight.
He bringing her back here, or?
Sorry, man. I can only speculate.
I looked over at Hotmail. Can you go switch out Wax and get him back here? Need him to take a look at this.
No problem.
It took about 10 minutes, but Wax eventually boiled up out of the bushes and settled in with us.
Heard you guys needed a Spanish teacher.
I was hoping for a hot one, but I guess you'll do.
Yeah, we need someone to read between the lines in these emails. BLT passed his tablet over to Wax, who then ducked his head under a cover and read through some of the emails for about a minute or so. He muttered a few things to himself as we kept our eyes open, then popped his head back out.
I'm not sure how many emails you've read.
He sighed deeply.
Over the past 2 months, she's been sending him naked photos, and he's been returning the favour. One thing's for certain, he can sure use a fucking trim. He's not here right now, as it looks like he went to meet her at a place he booked for the night in Barvechos.
How old is she? He massaged his face with his gloved hand briefly, then took another deep breath.
11 by the looks of it. Just turned.
I'm not gonna go into all the reasons why that hit me like a hot poker in the sternum. Not right now, anyway. But suffice to say I needed to breathe that out, and in that I was only partially successful. Okay, I know what I want to do, but I can tell you right now, it's leaning away from audacious and more towards reckless.
Sounds like we're about to do something stupid. I am so in.
I told Hotmail to bring it back in. Watching the house now was irrelevant, and the entirety of our original assault plan was now ashes. I gave him the briefest of updates, and his resulting scowl could have burned a hole through titanium.
When do we leave?
That was going to depend on how quickly we could get the chopper back to pick us up.
Inflation 1-1, this is Taxman.
Taxman, Inflation 1-1, go ahead.
Inflation, we've got a double bounce. We need to relocate from Whiskey Central to Point Bravo ASAP.
Copy. You need to relocate from Whiskey Central to Point Bravo on a double bounce ASAP. Hope you guys like the Jacob's Ladder. We're a bit chunky to touch down at Whiskey.
Oh, no problem. It's one of our favorite movies.
Roger that, Taxman. You're pretty early. We'll need 20 mics.
20 mics. Roger that. Taxman out.
Double bouncing is a term we use to describe an immediate change to the program so that we can action time-sensitive intel scavenged at the original target location. Remember, we were originally going to sit on the house throughout the day and hit him the following night. But we'd made the plan, we'll change the plan. The CIA wants this guy dead, and he'll be fucking dead all right. Hopefully, before this jagoff ruined that poor girl's life. I want to blow this place with enough C4 to upset the space-time continuum. The question is, do I want to bring that dickhead back here and bury him under the basement before I do it? Hotmail reached into his kit and started pulling out his stash. We'd all brought some, since turning the place inside out was on the agenda early on.
How much do you need?
Well, we're not getting paid to bring the stuff back, so just give me whatever you got. I'll take care of the time machine. You two go grab whatever other intel you can find. Wax, keep an eye on the driveway, but don't go blind.
Yep, I've got it.
I got to work sizing the structure and got some compound placed. It didn't need to be pretty, it just needed to be plenty. Thin strips of compound were generally more effective than blocks, so I spread out what we had throughout the structures while Hotmail and BLT scoured the space for anything that looked important. I didn't see anything of much use. This guy was a fucking donkey.
Jesus, maybe this guy isn't so bad after all.
How's that?
Well, he's just made a sizable cash donation to help Wax pay for his brain transplant. Gotta be a couple $100,000 here.
Yeah, like you can count that high.
Well, sounds like BLT found his winning lotto ticket after all. I guess he's my favorite now.
You always take his side.
I admit the lines between right and wrong were extremely blurry at that specific moment, but I just brushed that aside and made the decision. Finders keepers, and fuck this guy anyway. I wasn't thinking of pocketing it, don't get me wrong. Cash can always add tactical independence to our future missions and source development. Might as well bring it with us and figure out exactly what to do with it later. Inflation had been staged at a landing site a short distance away and was overhead right on time. We got about 2 hours to turn this prolapsed anus into hot dog filler, and that was plenty of time when you had your own helicopter. A few minutes later, we were up the ladder and heading towards the glow of Barvechos. I detonated the charges remotely once we were well clear. As much as I wanted an alien telescope from 3 galaxies away to see the results, I'd set it up to make the structure collapse on itself. This was mostly to minimize the potential of someone seeing it happening and tipping off the Donkeh. In spite of my best efforts, somebody tipping him off was a distinct possibility, though time was a crucial consideration. I gave the pilot a brief rundown of where we needed to be, and he found a suitable place to drop us off a couple blocks away at a large intersection. We did a couple of circles so the pilots could evaluate the hazards and set up into the wind. Once we hit the street, we moved as inconspicuously as we could, but we weren't really set up for this. At this point, speed was our stealth, but speed is slow, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. We picked our way through various streetlights and dodged the occasional vehicle. I could feel myself getting overeager, thinking less about what I was doing and more about what I was about to do. Fortunately, it only took us a few minutes before we were around the corner from the target house. I held the last corner as Hotmail moved wide to get a better look. As we approached, we could hear music inside, the kind of shit that you'd expect from a slimy child molester putting the moves on a kid in elementary school. This was as basic an entry as it could be. Once we were all satisfied there was nothing sneaky going on, we stacked up on the back door where it was a bit darker. I was number 1, Hotmail number 2, BLT 3, and Wax was the caboose. I see a door, I don't see hinges, door opens in, click to fire, check the door's unlocked, wait for the signal. I waited for the squeeze on my left arm, and when I felt it, open the door, outside foot comes in, clear my initial corner, inside foot works 4 inches off the wall, start my initial sweep, work at 6 feet from the door, finish my primary sweep, target hostile, engage, switch to the middle of the room, see stairs to the second floor, target hostile, engage, safe clear. I don't want to get into a lot of details about what we found going on when we got upstairs. Suffice to say, she still had enough clothing on to suggest she hadn't given up yet. I let BLT off his chain, so he dragged the guy downstairs and went absolutely blitzkrieg on him. Wax gently pulled the girl aside since he had the language skills to de-escalate her ear-piercing shrieking, which I have to admit was well warranted given the circumstances. Meanwhile, Hotmail secured what was left of Donkeh. I took a look over him. What a disgusting, greasy piece of shit. I looked over at BLT. How do you say, "I'm gonna chop you up" in Spanish?
Just start cutting his dick off. I'm sure he'll get the message.
I had something way more original in mind. Wax was able to defuse the girl, and Hotmail, who's our medic, did a quick assessment on her before sending her back home more or less intact. I donated a couple stacks of cash from my winnings that I'd had tucked away in hopes that it would buy us some good karma in the future. BLT contacted Inflation to grab us at the same location we were dropped off, and we were back up in the air in no time with our new turd. I asked the pilot to take us to the wastewater treatment plant in Kwani to lighten our load. I don't need to elaborate on exactly how miserable this fucker was during that 500-foot drop into his shit tank, but I can safely say that freefall was by far the most uncomfortable 6 seconds of his life. I'm not proud of what I did before he failed flight school, but it had to happen. And some of you will undoubtedly disagree with me, and that's okay. I'm imperfect. Now, I do realize nothing is ever going to bring my wife and daughter back. But right or wrong, I felt like the large bag of bricks I'd been carrying around for the last 21 years got a few bricks lighter.